Hi there. In this tutorial, we are going to create the Redux store with the help of Redux Toolkit library in our React application. In our early tutorial, we talked about how the Redux works and how we can use the Redux. So in this tutorial, we will see that how can we use that Redux in our React application. So let's see how can we do that. For that, I am going to create in our React application. Our app is downloaded, so code my app control tag Now if I go my app.js and I need anything, React function component, if I save my file, I can see now I have to install the Redux Toolkit library. So for that, add and we need another library called react-redux. So let's create our Redux store here. And it take reducer as an argument, and let's pass a empty value, and our store is ready. So I have to wrap our app component index or app component with the Redux provider that comes from the React Redux library. And it needs a store as argument. Now if I save my file, if I go to my browser, in my browser I has the Redux dev tool installed, so it shows that means our store is available in our application. So let's see how can we modify our store. For that, I have to create a slice. For that, let's create a file. Name will be, this slice will be user slice. Initial state will be loading, and we need another property called reducers. This reducer handle all the state value. So this createSlice return two properties. One is reducer, another is actions. So I have to export default reducer. So I have to attach this reducer in our store. So I have to go to my store. User is equal to user reducer. So let's import the user reducer. from slice/user. Now if I save my file, if I go to my dev tool again, I will see that my one slice is created, that is the user slice, though it has nothing. So let's improve our slice. When we request, we need three things. First one, requested, and first argument is a state, and second one is the action, and at first return the whole state, and then loading will be true. And let's create another state, it will be succeed, and again same, loading will be false, and the user will be action.payload. So let's create the user here. Initial value is null. Now let's create another state for handling the error. It will be same, but user will be null, and error will be action.payload. Now I have to create these three methods. So let's see how can we access these three methods. We have these three methods available here, like actions dot, actually it will be actions dot, I can see my all three method appears. So it will be requested, and another one will be succeed, and another one will be failed, and it needs the user as an argument, and it needs error message. So I have to dispatch these three functions. So what can I do? I have two ways. I can export this function in my app or whatever where we need, or I can create the function here. Let's see one by one. At first export the function like this way. It will be user slice actions. Now in my app I have to import the actions here. Actually it will be user slice. I export it as the export, so it will be user slice from the user, and then I have to dispatch here. Let's dispatch inside a button. So let's create a button. User and I have to dispatch here. So for dispatch I have to import the dispatch here. Dispatch from use dispatch hook from the react-redux library. So I have the dispatch. Inside that dispatch I have to use the user slice, then success scenario. Now I have to pass something like data, like user will be ID will be 1, name. Let's pass the user here. If I save my file, if I go to my store. Let's click this button. Actually it says user slice not found. Actually let's fix the problem at first. Here export user slice as an actions, and then actually I have to export this way, not this. Now if I save my file, now if I click this button, I can see my store. Now one user succeed and the user appears in my store. I can see. Now let's see then how can we access this store or access the user from the user slice in my DOM. So for that I have to go to the here constant use selector from the react-redux library and state. Now we will need the user state dot user slice, and in this user slice I have the user. So if I console log the user below the button user, and let's convert this user to JSON, because we know that if we type this way it will throw an error because JSX does not allow object. So I have to convert this user to string. Now if I save my file, I will see that my user appears here, but it is not very handy. For that let's little bit and 2. If I save my file, now I can see my user appears nicely, ptd. So we can see that we can use the dispatch this way, and we improve our dispatch little bit. So for that I can use, let's create a function outside my app. Actually let's see here, comment out this line, and I can use function notation. In function it has two property. One will be the dispatch, actually dis dispatch, and another one will be the get user or get state. Now I have to dispatch this line dispatch. I no need the get state for here. Let's comment out this line. Now if I save my file, if I refresh my page, my store is gone. If I click this button, I can see my users appears. That means my dispatch success. So I have two ways to dispatch. One is the directly dispatch the actions, and another way is the function notation. Inside this function notation we have again the dispatch to dispatch our action. So I will use this scenario or this syntax to improve our code little bit. So let's see how can we do that. Let's comment out this line, and it is a callback function. So let's remove the entire callback function, as it will be the or get user. Actually I have already this name, get user. No, I do not have. So let's create the get user and put the user outside function outside. So actually what is the problem? it will be get user, not users. Now I need the user, so let's move our user outside. Now if I save my file, if I refresh my page, I can see I am getting the same result, but this time I can remove all the messy code outside of my app. So this way I have to call the users. But what happens if we need to pass something? For example, this user, we have this user outside of my function, but it is not the right way, because in function should be pure. That means all the related tasks must be given in the function. So I have to pass the user when I call this function. So how can you do that? If I try to call this here, it will no longer be the callback function anymore. It will be the return the object that comes from the UseSlice. So it will not work. So if I need to pass this way, then I have to create this function inside another function. It is a call closer. That means when I call this function, it will invoke the outer function and it return the inner function, and inner function is the exactly same that we need in this space as an callback. So now I have the function, so I can pass user here, and in this argument we will have the user here. So let's name it data or user, whatever. Let's name is data, and so it will be the data. So this user, actually I have the same name, that is the problem. Let's comment out this user for now, and I have to comment out this user again. So if I save my file, if I refresh, click this button, go to my store, I can see my user available. Now why I am doing this kind of scenario? Because I want to all the tasks, all the store related tasks will be available in the user slice. So I will move this function in my user slice here, and here I have to export. Let's create a, because it shows a lot more mess. Now I have the user get user available here, so I am exporting the user here, so I can export the get user. Let's import the get user from here. It will be comes from the user. Now if I save my file, let's comment out this user and comment out this user so that we can access the state. If I click this button, what is the problem? Actually I am getting this user. Let's remove this user. Now I have to pass the user here, so let's rename get this user, or make this user as a user data, so there is no will be confusion. So we will pass the user data here. So if I save my file, if I click this button, I can see my same actions or same data comes from my backend store. So this way my code is lot more simpler, or my all the code is correctly modularized. So I do not need to export this function outside of my store, because in my action we have this kind of method that we can create all the function here and export only the function that where we need it. So this way I no need export this line anymore. actually now it will be the actions. That actions come from this variable. So if I save my file, I can get the user again. Now we are creating the dummy user, we are passing the hard-coded user value. Let's see how can we get the data from the backend. For that, I will go to the, here it will be JSON placeholder. So let's copy this file, copy this route URL to our API, and I am passing this here. Let's constant fetch user and fetch pass the, actually let's pass the function, and I need only the users/user ID. So let's type user ID and we will pass the user ID from here. Now I will get the user available here, so I have to, it is a promise, so await async. Now again, now the response, if response.error throw error. Actually let's no need to handle the error part here, response.json directly, and this is also again a promise, so wait and return the data from here. So my fetch user has the data from the API. So instead of hard coding user, I will call the fetch user data and I have to pass the ID, for example 1. It will be lot of mess. Now if I save my file, if I go to my app, refresh the page, if I click this button, I am getting nothing. Actually it is a promise, so I have to wait here. So let's go here, it will be constant user or user new user, because there is the same name, it creates the problem. New user will be fetch user and pass 1 and it will be promise, so await async and I have to pass the new user. Now if I save my file, if I click this button, I can see my user comes from the backend API. But this way we handling the user in our application. That means my application logic and the business logic is mixed up. So let's move our fetch user in our Redux store, because because Redux slice can handle asynchronous task by themselves. So Redux has this mechanism to handle the asynchronous task. So let's see how can we do that. Let's comment out this one and this one and remove this fetch user for now from here to in my slice. To handle the asynchronous task, Redux has a createAsync thunk middleware. So createAsync thunk, and createAsync thunk requires 2 arguments. The first argument is the same name as the slice name, because when we dispatch something, we will see that which dispatch belongs to which slice. We can see that this succeed dispatch belong to the user slice. So for that I have to pass the same slice name in my first argument, user, and the name, get user, and the second argument second argument is the callback function that we already have here. So let's move this callback function here and replace this callback function with them. Now we know that createAsyncthang is again it is a closure, so it returns a function. So let's put this function inside this variable like this way. Now it is a callback function. So when we call this way, fetch user and pass the user ID here like 1, this data will be available in here in this argument by createAsyncthang. So now we have the fetch createAsyncthang closure function written by the createAsyncthang. So I have to handle this promise. For that the Redux toolkit has another property. This is the last and fourth property, is called extra reducers, and it is again it is a function, and this function first argument take one argument, it will call builder, and builder dot add case I have to type the same function name, that means fetch user. It will be fetch user, and this fetch user is a promise, so it has three property. One is fulfilled, that means the success scenario. Another one is the pending, it is the pending is the processing scenario, and another one is the rejected, that means the failure scenario. So let's handle the fulfilled, the success scenario. Fulfilled, the first argument is the function name, the fulfilled scenario, and second one is the function. This is the same function is the success function. So let's copy this function from here and put that function inside this function. Actually it is same line. Now I do not need this comma anymore, because I have the extra reducer to handle the success scenario. So now I have to export this function, because I do not need this user anymore. This user no need anymore. So I have to export this function directly from here, export, or I can put this function below so that we can compare here. Now if I at first let's go to my app where we using this function. Now this time I do not have get user function, I have a fetch user. So I have to, instead of get user, I have a fetch user, and I have to call the fetch user this way. Dispatch fetch fetch user, and I have to pass the user ID, that means 1 or 2. Let's pass the user ID, and if I save my file I can see nothing. If I click this button I can see my user appears. That means this time our code is lot more simpler, because all the store related task is placed in a single file, and all the application logic is only inside my app application. So it is a lot more simpler. Let's remove this one again. Now I have the user actions. Now let's create the product slice, that create another slice For that I am going to my slice. It will be the product.js, and let's copy the whole thing from here in the product slice, and I have to something changing like what I am copying. I have to copy the user slice, that means this option, into my product slice. I am in my product slice, so let's paste here and change something like this. This is a product slice, so it will be product, and it will again be product, and whatever we need, and let's change the name. It will be get product, and this time instead of user I am going to fetch the to-dos, and it will be the product ID instead of user ID. Everything is same, I think. Let's change the name, fetch user instead of fetch product, and fetch user, that means fetch product here. Now everything is same. Now if I go to my app, I can import the product slice from here. It will be product, and I am fetching the product slice. Now you may be wondering where is the name comes from. This names comes from the store here. This name will be used in my slice. That means I am, instead of reading the whole slice, I am reading the user slice. So this way I have to read the product slice, but in our store I do not attach the product slice here, so I have to use and import the product slice at first. Product slice or product reducer, whatever name. Let's name the product reuser user slice, product slice from slice/product, and it will be the user slice, and another one will be product, and it will be product slice. Now I have the user slice and the product slice, and this name will be used in my here. Now I have the product available, so let's console log the product again. For that, let's create another button. And this button will be get product handler, get product. Let's create this function. Let's duplicate this function here. It will be get product. Now actually we do no need the async function here anymore, so remove this error, and I have to import the product. I have to import this fetch product. So in my app I have to call the fetch product, and let's access the first product. I am importing the product here. Now I have in our store I have a product, so let's show the product here, or actually let's create another pre tag and show the product. If I save my file, I can see, if I click this button, I can see my product appears. If I click this button, I can see my user appears. Now if I go to my state in my toolkit, I can see Redux at first pending, then fulfill, then pending, then fulfill. So I can see I do not handle the pending scenario, but I handle the fulfill scenario. That is the reason I am getting the data.